Good morning, and thank you for joining us, everyone. The Eaton and Palisades fires destroyed over 18,000 structures, killed 31 people, and left thousands of families struggling to rebuild, many of whom are here behind me. Survivors are not just facing destruction caused by fires, they're facing unavoidable hardships caused by insurance delays, denials, and underpayments. These are problems that can be mitigated and solved if the right reforms are implemented immediately. My constituents, our constituents, are fighting every day, tooth and nail, against powerful insurance companies, and we need to have their backs. One example is Amy Harity of Altadena, who spent $7,000 on emergency repairs and toxic testing, yet unfortunately, State Farm offered her only half of what was needed to make her home safe and livable, as reported by the LA Times. Many others have been ghosted by adjusters, denied testing for asbestos and other toxins, and given lowball settlement offers. It's atrocious, and we've been dealing with this as a community for months now. And many of the people who are behind me and who are watching have little patience for what they've been enduring and everything that I just outlined. These problems, unfortunately, are not just caused by natural disasters. The sad part is they are caused by insurer practices, by greed and systemic failures, and these are things that we can correct if we take decisive action. We are calling on the California Department of Insurance and the Commissioner to act now. Commissioner Lara, families need your swift leadership to ensure insurance companies fulfill their legal responsibilities. We urge you to take 5 decisive actions. 1, complete the State Farm market conduct investigation as soon as possible. Release the results publicly and freeze rate hikes until corrective action is taken. 2, amend the Fair Plan's plan of operations to further order an end to illegal smoke claim denials and underpayments. 3, protect families by preventing unlawful reductions to additional living expenses, ALE, benefits, and prioritize ALE complaints. 4, require full transparency in all loss estimates so survivors can see what they are owed and who made the adjustments and why, for full transparency. And finally, make the CDI complaint process transparent. We want a public dashboard so we can see which companies are getting the complaints, who is complaining and for why, and we want to hold regulators accountable as well as insurers. This will help restore trust. These reforms directly put money back into survivors' pockets, hold insurers accountable, and prevent unnecessary suffering. These are solutions that can be implemented immediately to mitigate the hardships families are enduring. I have also authored AB 238, the Mortgage Forbearance Act, which allows wildfire-affected homeowners to pause mortgage payments for up to 1 year without penalties or foreclosure risk. I urge its immediate passage in the legislature. I want to thank Senator Perez for all of her leadership on this bill as well, but it's been pending for 8 months. It's time for it to pass. It's time for it to get on the governor's desk, and we want to see it signed. This will actually provide critical help to families, give them breathing room, stability, and relief while they rebuild. Together, these measures provide real, actionable solutions to the challenges survivors face. They restore trust, deliver financial relief, and allow families to focus on rebuilding, not fighting with insurance companies, banks, or regulators. I want to thank all the advocates here who are with us today throughout our community who have been fighting. These are survivors, and it's unfortunate when survivors have to fight seemingly on their own. But our community has done a Herculean job of coming together and making sure that no one is left behind. I also want to thank Joy Chen, CEO of the Eaton Fire Survivors Network, my partner in crime up in Sacramento, Senator Sasha Renee Perez, our partner in crime here on the ground who has been leading the efforts on the front line, Supervisor Catherine Barger, and of course, Victoria Knapp, the chair of the Altadena Town Council, who has been nothing short of heroic. Commissioner Lara, we, the survivors, and our whole community cannot wait. Families who have lost everything deserve immediate relief, accountability, and a clear path to recovery. Right now, I'd like to call up Joy Chen with the Eaton Survivors Network.
Good morning. My name is Joy Chen, CEO of the Eaton Fire Survivors Network, a grassroots community of more than 7,500 survivors and allies. Thank you so much to Assemblymember Harabedian for your leadership in ensuring that California's consumer protection laws are enforced so that survivors can get back home. And thank you to Senator Perez, Supervisor Barger, and Chair Knapp for your leadership and partnership always. When disaster strikes, Californians deserve one simple thing: timely access to the insurance benefits that we have already paid for. Instead, after the Eaton and Palisades fires, we face a second catastrophe, and that is insurance itself. The Department of Angels has found that 70% of insured Eaton and Palisades fire survivors report that delays and denials are impeding their entire recovery. For more than 2/3 of us, what should be a safety net has instead become a wrecking ball, wrecking our finances, our health, and the future that we have worked so hard to build for our families. Families are draining savings, maxing out credit cards, and living in contaminated homes, all because insurers refuse to pay us what they owe us. This is not an issue of weak laws. In fact, California has some of the nation's strongest consumer protections. The problem is that Commissioner Lara has failed to enforce them. The 5 steps that you just heard from Assemblymember Harabedian build on a plan that we have offered at the Eaton Fire Survivors Network. For each action, we detail why it is urgent and what specific steps the commissioner can take now to implement those 5 steps under his existing legal authority. I invite you to read the details of these 5 steps that Assemblymember Harabedian just announced at efsurvivors.net. A functioning insurance system cannot survive without enforcement, and neither can our recovery. So, if you pay insurance premiums anywhere in California, this is your fight too. I invite you to join us at efsurvivors.net. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Joy. And again, thank you for your continued leadership and advocacy across the board. It's now my honor to call up, again, someone that I've worked with since the day that we were elected. And our second day in Sacramento is when the Eaton fire happened. And Senator Perez has been a champion for this community, and I'm honored that she is here today. So, Senator Perez.
Thank you, and I want to thank Assemblymember Harabedian for hosting this and for all of his work that he's led in this space. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today as we address the ongoing recovery efforts following the devastating wildfires in Altadena and the Pacific Palisades. The impact of these fires have been profound, leaving many families in turmoil and searching for the support that they desperately need. And as your senator, I want to make something very clear. We will hold the insurance industry accountable for their inadequate response during this crisis. I am proud that AB 493, which has been authored by my good friend, Assemblymember Harabedian, and which I am proud to co-author, has successfully passed and will soon be sent to the governor's desk. This bill ensures homeowners do not lose out when disaster strikes. Too often, insurance money meant to rebuild sits in escrow with no benefits to families that need it most. This bill requires lenders to pay at least 2% of those funds so families get every dollar that they deserve. It protects homeowners, especially those affected by the 2025 Los Angeles wildfires, from losing value of their payouts due to inactivity or fees. We are also gathered here to discuss reforms to stop ongoing violations and delayed insurance payouts for survivors. On April 29th of this year, I, along with other legislators, sent the insurance commissioner a letter requesting to defer any consideration of a rate increase until a thorough and expedited market conduct examination is completed. At the time, we emphasized that rate hikes were unjustified while insurance complaints remained unresolved, a position that remains unchanged today. In this pursuit, we are standing firmly behind the Eaton Fire Survivors Network, which has articulated critical actions we expect from California Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara. We demand that investigations into companies like State Farm be completed swiftly within the next 60 days and rate hikes frozen until survivors are made whole. We must end illegal denials and underpayments of Fair Plan smoke claims so that families can return safely to their homes and with confidence that their family members are safe. It's equally important that temporary housing benefits are protected, allowing families a safe place to stay during the rebuilding process. And we are also advocating for transparency and loss estimates so survivors can verify what they are owed, alongside a commitment to enhancing the complaint process to ensure accountability from insurers and from regulators. This initiative is not anti-industry. It is a fight for integrity and fairness. We are committed to fostering a system where insurance fulfills its vital role as a safety net for recovery and properly serves its customers, particularly those who are fire survivors. Together, we will demand that insurers uphold their responsibilities and ensure that those affected by these fires receive the support that they so rightfully deserve. Thank you all so much, and thank you to Assemblymember Harabadian.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to call up someone who needs no introduction, Supervisor Barger, who, if there's one thing that we were lucky to have during this disaster, it is her leadership during it. So, Supervisor Barger, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for bringing us all together. And I have to say that you talk about patience by the survivors. I think that the patience you all have shown throughout the last 7 months are inspirational, but I think we're all here to say enough is enough. The Eaton fire exposed deep fractures in the private insurance system in California, something that we knew even pre-fire existed. Too many residents in Altadena have discovered that the recovery process was the beginning of a drawn-out fight with their insurance companies. And when I say drawn-out fight, that is exactly what it has become. The county does not have any authority over the insurance market, but I have channeled the voices of my constituents to call for much-needed reforms at the state level. That's why I am honored to be here today with Assemblyman Harabadian and the Eaton Fire Survivors Network to amplify this call for action. And Joy, thank you for the work you put into this, because what I've said is that not only are you putting work into it, but you have facts standing behind everything you are saying, representing these survivors. A recent Department of Angels report, as you heard, illuminated glaring issues in the insurance market. 70% of the survivors say their claims have been unduly delayed, underpaid, or outright denied. The claim practices of the two providers are now being actively investigated by the insurance commissioner, and we know that State Farm is at the top of that list. This was a welcome development in light of stories I've heard from community members for months. And my hope is that these investigations are going to move swiftly. It shouldn't take rocket science to figure out what is going on. You've got survivors behind me that can give you the facts behind what is going on. Another positive development was Commissioner Lara's establishment of the Smoke Claims and Remediation Task Force, something that's a step moving forward, but it's got to be done quickly and swiftly. People are waiting to rebuild, and I've made the commitment to my constituents that it's going to be their choice to rebuild. It's not going to be because they could not. It's going to be because they choose not to. I hope this will close a glaring hole in state regulations that have caused particularly acute trauma for those whose houses were largely spared by the fire and are surrounded by devastation and contamination. It is imperative that this task force move the urgency and develop long overdue coverage standards. But in many cases, the solutions to plug the holes that have been exposed by the insurance market and beyond will require legislative actions to bring relief to current and future fire survivors. That is why I applaud Assemblyman Harabedian and Senator Perez for the passage of AB 493 and all that you continue to do in Sacramento to enact meaningful change to benefit all of our constituents. I recently penned an op-ed about the need for the insurance industry to step up and for regulators to ensure that they do. Think about that. Asking the regulators to do their job. Insurers should be required to pay out maximum amounts allowable under the coverage categories in existing contracts for underinsured policyholders. Systemic complaints stemming from the Eaton fire against insurance companies must be fully evaluated before any rate increases should even be considered. Again, not rocket science. Insurers should offer meaningful discounts to customers who meet or exceed home hardening and fire resiliency standards. Additional bills need to be enacted into law, like Assemblyman Harabedian's AB 238, which provides financial relief to survivors through mortgage forbearance. And again, thank you for taking the leadership on that. Senator Allen's SB 495, which would allow policyholders who lose their homes to claim 60% of personal property coverage up front without itemization or 100% with itemization. And believe it or not, that continues to be something that the survivors are fighting. The ones that say to me, I don't know whether it was a blessing not to lose my house because now I'm being nickel and dimed, nickel and dimed, nickel and dimed. We also need increased transparency and accountability for insurers' claim practices. These are challenging times, but the critical work being done by community organizations like the Eaton Fire Survivors Network, Department of Angels, and so many others are the wind in our sails. We will continue to advocate, collaborate, and fight when necessary to bring about meaningful change and ease the burden on so many who have been impacted by these tragedies. Again, thank you for allowing me to be here today. And to my friends and survivors that are standing behind me, we will not leave you in the dust.
Thank you, Supervisor. Well said. And certainly, last but not least, our friend, Chair of Altadena Town Council, Victoria Knapp, who can speak to this personally and professionally. Victoria, thank you for all your leadership, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Good morning. My name is Victoria, and I stand before you not only as the chair of the Altadena Town Council, but as an Eaton fire survivor. Altadena has proven time and time again that we are united in strength and resilience. Neighbors have taken in neighbors, strangers have become family, but while our community continues to show up for one another, the insurance system is failing us. Insurance companies are treating survivors like claim numbers instead of human beings. We are on our fifth adjuster. Fifth adjuster. We've only met one in person. Every delayed payment, every denial of what is owed in someone's policy is not just paperwork to us. It's a family forced to wait in limbo. It's children who cannot go home. It's elders living in temporary housing month after month with no end in sight and no promise of continued payment. It's the silent, overwhelming weight carried by people who have already lost everything. If you came here today from an intact home where you know where everything you own is, imagine all of us living in temporary housing, having lost every single thing that we've amassed in the decades of our lives, in the decades of our children's lives. Oftentimes, things that were owned by our grandparents and great-grandparents that can never be replaced. I know this personally, I'm insured with State Farm. And like so many others, I'm still waiting, still navigating delays, and the requirement to itemize the contents of my home. Does anyone understand the emotional and psychological burden that places on a mother, on a father, on a grandparent? What we need is fairness. Survivors cannot rebuild when the very safety net that we've paid into refuses to function. So today, we make a clear call. We ask the Department of Insurance and Commissioner Lara to stand with our community and not with the insurers. Deliver justice for the families of Altadena and the Palisades who have already endured the unimaginable. Hold insurers accountable. Stop approving rate hikes. Help us move from surviving to rebuilding. When Altadenans rebuild, economy comes back. That's good for California. When insurers are held accountable in California, that's good for America. You think that something like this can't happen in your town until it does. And you've paid into insurance, and you expect you're going to get your payments swiftly, and you don't, and your life comes to a screeching halt. I thank Assemblymember Harabedian. I thank Senator Perez. I thank my partner, Supervisor Barger. Altadena deserves not just compassion in words, but actions in practice. Thank you.
Well, if that doesn't drive home just why this is urgently needed, I don't know what would.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank Chair Knapp again for everything that she has done and continues to do. And this is really a team effort. And the team you see here, we're locked arm in arm. And we're going to stick with our survivors and our community as long as it takes. And that is the end of the prepared remarks. We're now going to open up for any questions that any in the media have for any of us.
It seems to be impossible for Commissioner Ricardo Lara to not know the magnitude of the problem that you're facing. Have you been in contact directly with him and what he has been telling you about this timely problem that has to be resolved for all thousands of people?
Yeah, our offices have been in constant contact with the department and with Ricardo Lara, and I know the senator has as well, and we're all trying to do more. I think we all can do more, and I think the Department of Insurance can do more. And this is obviously something that no one necessarily planned for, and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of resources, and we're asking for more effort, more resources, and more accountability.
But it's taking new policies. You're talking about proposing ABs and Senate bills, so it hasn't been able to make a fixing of the problem without going to the law?
Yeah, well, we applaud him for obviously instituting the market conduct examination on State Farm. We want to see that, again, wrapped up as quickly as possible. We want to know what the results are publicly. And we think that as the regulator of the industry, we need to see more urgency and we need to see more accountability, and we want to see everyone brought to the table. And it's been 8 months. We don't want to be here in another month, another 2 months, another 5 months. We want this wrapped up. We want people to be made whole. This is contractual money that they're owed, and the insurance commissioner has a huge role in holding every insurance company, whether it's the Fair Plan, State Farm, or anyone else, accountable during this process. So while we will continue to push regulation and new laws to make sure that any survivor of a disaster going forward does not have to put up with this, we need urgent action now that is outside necessarily the bounds of the legislative halls of Sacramento.
Assemblymember, question. So as you know, there's a hearing coming up on the State Farm rate increase, and you're calling upon the insurance commissioner to get it right. Have you considered involving your office in that hearing process?
I think that we both will be involved in some way, shape, or form, and we have, again, been in constant contact with the department. And I think going back to what many of us have said, we don't think it's fair for rate hikes to go forward until every one of our survivors is made whole, until corrective action is taken. And I know while we have heard that the two things are separate and they're not necessarily tied together, for the average consumer, especially the average fire victim and survivor, that doesn't make any sense to us. they seem directly relevant. If you are not following the law, if you are not following the contract that you have with your consumers, with your customers, then you don't deserve rate hikes. You don't deserve a rate increase. So we will involve ourselves collectively on that. So, go ahead.
You know, I think that is a main part of the reason why we wanted to ask for the market conduct investigation when we did. State Farm has already received an emergency rate hike this year. If they receive this second rate hike come October, that'll bring their total rate increases to 33%. And that's simply unacceptable. I don't know anybody whose wages have increased 33% over the last year, or even over the last 5 years, to be perfectly honest with you. And so, you know, we wanted to make sure that this market conduct examination gets completed before we get to October, because we know that's when this hearing is going to happen. So we've been continuing to work with the Insurance Commissioner's Office to make that very clear. That's why we made the request when we did.
Any other questions? Well, I just want to thank you all for being here, for giving these issues, the attention that they deserve. And again, just thank all the survivors that are with us today. And we appreciate everything that everyone is doing individually, but as a community, we will continue to push forward, and we won't stop until all these issues are resolved. So thank you, and enjoy your week.
Thank you.